Today I'm going to do a pen review that I've been meaning to do for a long time, and it's going to be a comparison between the Pentel Sign brush pens and the Tombow Fudenosuke brush pens. These guys are very similar, but they're also very different, so we're going to make our way through the pros and cons, and I believe I have all of the different kinds of brush pens in the Pentels and the Fudenosuke. So we're going to look at all of them and we're going to end up swatching them. So let's begin. So first up, I wanted to talk about the Pentel Brush Sign pens. That's what they're called. These are made in Japan. They are a water-based dye ink, and then they say they have a flexible tip. Now what that means is it's a hard tip, but it's flexible, so it allows you to do to change your pressure based on your calligraphy. And I want to show you the difference between, this is a soft tip. Again, it's flexible, but it's a soft tip. And then this is the hard tip. So just to give you an idea of the comparison. And then the Fudenosukes are very similar to the Pentels versus the big brush pens. Okay, these are the 12 original colors, and they are $23 for the 12 pack. And then recently they released another 12 pack, which is they're calling them the 2020 colors, and they're a combination of jewel and pastel colors. They're actually really fun. You'll see when we swatch them what they end up looking like. So again, $23 for 12 pens. So each set. These prices are off of Jet Pens. I know you can purchase them from, I think I originally got these from Target. These I actually bought off of Etsy because they're super hard to find, but Jet Pens, as of this moment in time, has it available on their website. Okay, now we're going to take a bit of a closer look at the Tombows. So now we're going to take a closer look at the Tombow Fudenosukes. So these again are the same with the flexible brush tips. So they're hard tip brush pens compared to their other Tombow brush pens, which are the soft tips. They are flexible, and these are actually water-based pigment ink. Now, one thing to know about the pigment ink versus the dye ink is that pigment ink is going to sit on your page for a little bit longer, versus dye ink is going to absorb into the page a lot faster. So dye ink, although it dries quicker, is more likely to ghost and shadow and bleed, versus the pigment inks are less likely to do that, but they also take longer to dry, so there's a higher likelihood for smudging. So just keep that in the back of your mind. So these guys, this is the 10 pack, and the 10 pack retails for $25.99, and this is off of the Tombow website. And then they released the Neon pack as well, which is a 6 pack for $16.99. So overall more expensive than the Pentel brush pens, and then less color variation as well. So that's kind of, like I said, I really love the Pentel colors, and but we'll swatch them and compare them. But before we get to the swatching, I actually put together a pack of different planner papers that we're going to go through, and we're going to look at the bleeding and the ghosting. So sit tight. Okay, so I'm going to be a little boring, and I'm going to do the ghosting bleeding check with the black pens. Reason being, they're the easiest to replace. A lot of this paper isn't kind to your brush pens and will cause fraying. So I'm just playing it safe and using my black pens that are, like I said, easier to replace. So we're going to start off with the Archer and Olive bullet journal paper. So this is 160 GSM. None of this should really be a problem, which you will see shortly. So this is the Tombow. If you watch any of my videos, you know that I actually use this guy a lot. I really do like it. This is the Pentel. Okay, so right away you can see there that the Pentel, the tip is a lot softer and a lot more flexible than the Tombow Fudenosuke. Part of this is because this pen is new. The Tombow is new, I haven't used it before, so it doesn't quite have that flexibility. The Pentel I've used before, and so it's kind of lost some of its rigidity. So just keep that in mind. But now we'll have a look at the ghosting and the bleeding, and there is none, which is pretty standard for the 160 GSM. So now we're going to look at a moleskin. I'm so sorry, I'm terrible at tearing paper. So again, the moleskin is going to tear up your pens just because they are a lot more porous. The paper's a lot more porous. And so there you can see the difference between the pigment ink and the dye ink right away. So that's the pigment ink that sits on the page. And there we have the dye ink, which is immediately bleeding through. So this is just ghosting versus this is bleeding. Oh, and sorry, I just want to do the smudge test for you. So that's the pigment ink. There's tiny, tiny little bit of smudging. And that's actually the dye ink, which has more smudging than the pigment ink. So if you just give that a second to dry, I find that the Pentels are a lot juicier. They have a lot more ink right away versus the Tombows. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So there's the moleskin, that's the Tombow. And this is the Pentel, so super smudgy on the moleskin paper. Okay, your Leuchtturm is going to tear up your pens as well. It's just not a smooth paper, it's a bit more gritty. So Leuchtturm, no bleed through, but lots of ghosting. So keep that in mind. I know this isn't as popular as it once was, but this is from the Erin Condren. So smudging there. So this is the Recollections paper from Michaels. So a little bit of smudging by both of them, more so with the Pentel. Here we have Happy Planner. Oh my goodness, I haven't been doing the ghosting check. So sorry. So for the Erin Condren, the Pentel is ghosting more than the Tombow. I don't know if you can see that, but it's handling it pretty well. And then the Recollections, no ghosting, no bleed through. Okay, so this is a Happy Planner. A little bit of smudging by both. And more bleed through from the Pentel, but it's really not that bad. So this is the Yellow Paper House planner. If you haven't seen their website, I strongly suggest checking it out. Their paper quality is fantastic. And they have a wide variety of options for you. If I wasn't married to bullet journaling, I think I would be more inclined to get a Yellow Paper House planner. And this is not sponsored, just experience and truth. Okay, so super smooth paper, lots of smudging. So definitely be careful letting those guys dry. And then very little ghosting, no bleed through. The Pentel again is ghosting a bit more than the Tombow. And then this is the Plum Paper Planner. Okay, so there we went through all our papers. So now we're actually going to go through and do the swatching. Again, just to emphasize the difference with the Tombows. The Tombows tend to be more expensive at $25.99 for 10 and $16.99 for 6. Versus the Pentels is $23 for 12. They both have a flexible tip to allow for calligraphy. I strongly recommend these if you're starting out learning modern calligraphy. They're just so much easier to kind of get a feel for the pressure. Again, it's going to take time, but I just found these to be easier to use than, say, the bigger brush pens. So just keep that in mind. And with that, we're going to do our swatching. Thank you for watching today. So final thoughts. Now you have to take this with a grain of salt. Full disclosure, I use the gray and the black Tombow Fudenosuke constantly. I love doing shadowing with this gray. I find it's not too light so you still see it, but it's not too dark that it's almost black. With that said, I would probably lean more toward the Pentels. The colors are more vivid, there's a wider variety, and the price point overall is just better. I will say that these neon Tombows are super fun. So if you really want to buy the Pentels and then grab the neon colors, I mean, there's not much. I do like this green versus that green. I like this blue versus that blue. Prefer this purple to that purple. I mean, it comes down to preference and definitely availability. But overall value for money, I would definitely go with the Pentels. And this color right here is my absolute favorite color. I accidentally have 2 packs of Sharpies of the same colors just so that I can get this blue black that I really, really love. So those are my thoughts. And now that I think of it, actually, that I have this light gray, I might use this light gray instead. This is a colder light gray. It's got bluer undertones than this one. But overall, I'm just nitpicking now for my own personal reasons. I would go with the Pentels. So thanks for watching today. If you have any more questions, comments, concerns, just reach out. I will get back to you down in the comments below. And yeah, if you like what you see, please subscribe and I can keep doing what I'm doing. So thank you for watching today.